Hey guys, what's up? It's Rygar the Destroyer, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a cheap Hoth turret here. That's also fairly accurate. It's not perfect, but it's very close. And it's made out of very inexpensive materials. This one here is made of foam core and chipboard. If you don't know what chipboard is, I'll talk about that more later in the video. And then it's also got a few mechanical pencil parts. So overall, very, very inexpensive to make. And if foam core is a little bit too expensive for you and you want something that's even cheaper, I also made a version using cardboard from cereal boxes and just standard corrugated cardboard. This one's obviously not finished, but you could paint it and it would look almost identical to this one here. As far as this as a series, I'm very, very excited to make this video. It's something that I've been putting a ton of work into, but unfortunately, it takes so much time to make one of these videos that if this video doesn't seem to go over, meaning like you guys don't, comment saying, oh, I'd like to see more of these videos, things like that, I probably won't make any more. Like I said, they just take so much time to put together, that if they don't pan out, it wouldn't really be worth putting time into in the future. But let's not talk about that anymore. Let me talk about some of the materials that you'll need to make this Hoth turret here. So first off, and probably most importantly, you will need a hot glue gun. You could probably do it using other types of glue, but for convenience, I think hot glue is probably the best. You'll also need a pair of scissors, a hole punch, just the basic one here, a ruler, an X-Acto blade or X-Acto knife with a very, very sharp razor blade in it. If you're not using foam core, this isn't as big of a deal, but if you're using foam core, you will need a very sharp razor blade on there. You will also need 2 mechanical pencils here. I'm using this Bic one here. These are super cheap, and they always go on clearance after school started. And you will also need this one here. This one's produced by Papermate, and again, super cheap mechanical pencil. You can find basically anywhere. One more thing that you'll need is a pin here, and it's for making a kind of a homemade compass. This here is just a piece of cardboard from a Cheez-Its box, and I've drawn out 2 7/8 here and then poked 2 holes, one for the pin and then one for a pencil or pen or something, and you poke this into the material and you put your pen and it draws out a circle with a radius of 2 7/8. It's 2 7/8. So really handy for something like this, especially if you don't have an actual compass that's very accurate. I wanted something that was pretty readily available, so I think this is it. As far as materials, you can use chipboard, and like I mentioned earlier, if you don't know what chipboard is, it's on the back of spiral notebooks. That's a good place to find it, but unfortunately the sheets are not very big. So what I suggest you do is go to your local Sam's Club, and in the back corner where they keep the toilet paper, they use it in between the layers of toilet paper to separate the stacks so they don't fall apart. And they just recycle it anyway, so you can just take a sheet of it. It'll be more than enough to do several Hoth turrets, and the best part is it's free. So you will also need a toilet paper tube. Just one. Make sure that it doesn't have any actual toilet paper left on it. One like this here. You'll need some basic corrugated cardboard, just like every box is made of. That's, again, should be free. And then also some foam core. This can be replaced in every step with just standard corrugated cardboard, but if you're using the foam core, there are a couple steps that you will need the actual cardboard for, so just keep that in mind. And then instead of chipboard, if you're having trouble finding that, you can also use cereal box cardboard like this here. It's basically the same, except it's got some creases in it from where they folded the box together, so it doesn't look as clean on the finished product. I can show you that with my tester one here. If I can find a piece, let's see. Okay, so right here, that's a little mark from where the box was folded, and you don't have that problem with the chipboard if you get a nice flat piece. So just keep that in mind. And as far as this video series goes, this first video here will show you exactly how to cut out all the parts. Kind of the format I'll be using is I'll show you the part and also this little note card with all of the information on it. It'll have what shape it is. Obviously you can see that from looking at it, but if you're confused, you can look at that. And the most complicated cards will say something like outer radius, 2 7/8. It just means this is the radius here. It's from the length from the center of the circle out to the edge here. And then inner radius just means that there's 2 circles that you need to draw on this one piece. I'll tell you what the material is. So this piece here is chipboard, and I will tell you what material you need. Part count here means how many of this part you need. So on this one it's 1, but if you needed 2 of it, there would be a 2 there, and so on. And then the part number is just a label, so that later when I'm showing you how to put it together, you know what part I'm talking about without having to look at the measurements. That's just a way of keeping all these parts straight. So, and also if you get stuck at any point in the process that you're putting it together or cutting out the pieces, and you have a question, you get stuck, please just throw that question down in the comment section below, and I'll try my hardest to answer it for you. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, the first step here, I want you to go ahead and take your mechanical pencils. We'll go ahead and start out with the Papermate one here. Go ahead and unscrew this cap piece here, and go ahead and put it aside because you'll need this piece later. Then remove the center part of the pencil and take the outer tube, and then again lay it aside because you will need this part later. This part here you don't need anymore, so if you want to, you can just throw it away. Onto the Bic pencil here, go ahead and pull off the cap here. It doesn't screw on or anything, just kind of pull, and you'll notice there's this part here. What you'll want to do is break that off or cut it off if you're having trouble breaking it. And you're going to remove the center part from the external part. Again, there's a spring in there, and this outer tube, you don't need either of those parts. If there is an eraser left at the end here, you'll want to remove it. And another thing to mention, if you've used the eraser down to the very bottom here, you'll want to remove it because later we'll be gluing a piece into here. So the last thing that you need to do, I guess, if you have to remove the eraser, go ahead and pull off or cut off this green piece here, just like that, and then that'll allow you to jam something down here to push the eraser out, because this is a hollow tube. So that's all you need to do with these pieces for now. Just again, so you remember, you need this piece from the Bic pencil, and then these 2 parts from the Papermate one. This is the format that I'll be using to show off how to make each piece. It's got the card here like I explained earlier, and it'll show the part. All of the measurements given on these cards will be in inches, and each part should be on screen for about 15 seconds, so feel free to pause the video to cut it out. All right, for part number 11, it's a circle, just like a lot of the other ones that we've already done here. But the circles that you're cutting it from are absolutely enormous, and you only really need a section of it. So what you're going to do is you're going to draw out the circle, like just a section of the circle like you've done before, and then you're going to measure from just the point you select on the edge of the inner circle, and then you're going to go to another point here, and you're going to do that until you get a measurement that is 10 and 11/16, and you're going to mark both ends. And then what you're going to do is draw a line from the center of the circle out to those parts there. It has to go through the center of the circle for this to roll into a cone later. And then once you've done that, go ahead and mark maybe an inch or so, half an inch out from that measurement you just made, and that'll be a glue tab that you'll use later. So basically the same thing that you've been doing with the other circles, but with an extra step added. For parts number 12 through 15, we're going to be doing basically the same thing as what we did for part number 11, except the outer radius will now be 29.5 and the inner radius will be 25 3/4. And again, what we're going to be doing is measuring on the outer arc this time instead of the inner one, a distance of 2 3/4. So from a point here to a point there on the circle, it'll be 2 3/4 inches long, and you will get a little bit of pulling away here because you're not actually measuring arc length, you're measuring the distance between those 2 points. And then again, just like you've done on the other ones, you're going to draw your line from the center of the circle out to here. And again, that's just so that it maintains that cone shape. And then you're going to be cutting out 4 of those. For part numbers 16 through 18, we're going to be doing a lot of the same things that we've been doing on some of these other parts here. So there's going to be an outer radius of 29 1/4 inches and an inner radius of 28 3/4 inches. Now again, what you're going to do is start by marking a point here, and then using your ruler to measure out a distance of 2 1/8 inches between this point and another point on the outer circle. All right, and then once you've marked that, and you've marked this here, go ahead and draw a line between the center of the circle and this outer point here, as well as here. So again, this kind of gives you the correct shape that you need there. For parts numbered 19 through 21, we're going to be doing the same thing again, but this time it's a smaller part so you can actually see the entire circle. Hopefully, if you have any questions about how to do the other parts, this one here will kind of clarify them. So start by drawing a circle with an outer radius of 2 1/4 inches, and then the inner radius of 13/16. So it gives you this donut shape just like this. Now start by marking a point on the inner radius right here and then drawing a line between the center of the circle and that point going out to this edge here. So it gives you a line that goes straight through just like that. Now from that point, take your ruler and measure a distance of 1 1/4 inches between that point and another point on the inner circle, and then mark that. So once you've done that, go ahead and take your ruler and draw a line between the point that you just made there, the center, and this outer circle. So again, another straight line right there, just like that. So that gives you a piece that looks just like this. So it's round here, round there, and then it's got these two lines that make it kind of a fan shape. You'll do the same things for parts 20 and 21, except the distance that you'll be measuring between on the, I guess the inner radius here, will be a 1/2 inch instead of 1 1/4 inches. What that does is it just makes a smaller part, but again, you're doing the same thing. So mark your 2 points, and then use your ruler to draw the lines between the center through that point you just made to the outer circle, just like that. For parts 30 through 37, you're going to be cutting out right triangles, and a right triangle is a triangle with one angle that is equal to 90 degrees. So this angle right here is equal to 90 degrees on these ones here, and they are a half an inch tall and 9/16 long. So go ahead and draw out 8 triangles just like that. For parts 40 through 43, we're going to be doing some more circles here. Start by drawing a circle with the outer radius of 4.5 inches and then an inner radius of 3.5 inches. Alright, once you've done that, go ahead and start by drawing a line between the center of the circle to the outer circle just like that. And then from this point on the outer circle here, go ahead and make a line between here and there that measures to be 2 inches long. Make a mark there, and then draw a line between that point and the center point there. And remember, you're measuring the length of 2 inches on the outer circle. So just like this here. All right, and then repeat that 4 times, and then you've got parts 40 through 43. For part numbers 44 and 45, you're going to go ahead and start by drawing a circle with an inner radius of 2 3/4 inches. And then go ahead and draw a second circle, the outer radius of 2 15/16 radius. So you'll get 2 circles just like that. And then what you're going to do is pick a point on that circle. It can really be on the inner circle, really anywhere, and measure out 2 inches. So 2 inches between a point here and a point here. And what you're going to do is mark those 2 points and then mark a third point here at 1 inch. It doesn't have to be connected to the circle. And then what you're going to do is draw a line between the center of the circle and that point that you just made at the 1 inch mark. So right there, it runs straight through both circles. And then what you're going to do is draw 2 lines. The first one here goes from one of the points you just made here at 2 inches between the inner circle and the outer circle. So what you're going to do is put the point of your ruler on the inner circle and then pull it in until it reads 1/4 of an inch on your ruler. So it should kind of pull this line in just a little bit. So it won't go straight out, it'll go kind of in between the 2 circles. And then do that same thing on this side. Just kind of mirror it over the center line here. Now what you're going to do is go out to your second circle, that's the one with the radius 2 15/16, and put your ruler right there on the center line, and then measure out 3/8 of an inch on that center line, and then make a mark. So you're going from this point right here out to this point. Then what you're going to do is draw a line between this point here and that point that you just made. So just like that, and then draw a straight line. And then again, mirror that on the other side. Finally, what you're going to do is you're going to measure out from the center line and mark at 4/16 of an inch. And what you're going to be doing basically is making this line here, which is going to run parallel to the center line. And then again, just mirror it onto the other side, the exact same measurements. And so finally you'll get this part here. And as you can see, when you draw it, it gets kind of messy. So I've colored in what you need to cut out there. So just kind of cut out that shape right there on both sides. And then just kind of please ignore my little mess up there as well. These parts here don't have any numbers, and that's because you're just using your hole punch to make 5 very small circles. And the reason I didn't number them is because, as you can see, they're very, very small and would probably be too hard to read anyway. So just make 5 little circles from a hole punch. Alright, for this piece, again, there's no part number because the piece is very, very small and thin, so it would be too hard to write a part number on that. And for the drawing here, what I've done is just done a scale drawing. So what you're going to do is start out by drawing a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch square. So this right here is a 1/2 inch and this here is a 1/2 inch. And then what you're going to do is come in 1/8 of an inch from each side there and draw a line that runs parallel to it on both sides. And then what you're going to do is draw a line that comes up 1/8 of an inch here and again runs parallel. So then you get this shape just like that. Next, what you're going to do is come away from this 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch square 1/8 of an inch. So it's going over and up, basically. And then you're going to measure out that line to be 1 1/4 inches long. So that's how you get the overall length of your thing. It shouldn't be any longer than 1 1/4 of an inch. All right, what you're going to do then from that point is do kind of similar to what you did down here, is come in 1/8 of an inch from both sides, and then 1/8 of an inch from the top there. And it gives you this shape. So again, it shouldn't be any longer than 1 1/4 of an inch. Then what you're going to do is come back down to your 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch square down here, and you're going to go up 1/8 of an inch again and draw a line across like that. So now what you're going to do is connect this point here, which is a 1/2 inch long, that's your 1/2 inch square, to this point here on both sides. And then what you're going to do from that point is come up another 1/8 of an inch and draw another line across. And now you're going to go from the inside line here to this point here. And then that should give you this shape. So the final shape that you'll want will be this shape right here. So whenever you're cutting it out, just ignore all of the dashed lines here and just focus on the solid ones. That's what you will cut. The next parts that you'll be making are two 1/2 inch by, I would say, 3 foot strips of chipboard. I didn't label these because sometimes you have to cut more or less, just depending, but you'll need two 1/2 by 3 foot sections of chipboard. The final piece that you'll need to cut out is a strip of chipboard that is 5/8 of an inch wide and 3 feet long. Again, this doesn't have a parts number because it's like the other pieces where you might need more or less of it, so I don't give it an actual part number. But again, it's 5/8 of an inch and 3 feet long.